It's Wednesday. Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Livingston from Want Leverage Communications, and I'm here for another edition of Julie's PR Patter, where I pull in people from my marketing and public relations network and talk about what's important to them and what can help you in your business. I'm so fortunate today to welcome my friend Chris Wiedemann from Bowl Media. If you're looking for a trusted colleague in email marketing and digital marketing, Chris is your man. He's got a consistent track record of generating strong, positive engagement and return on investment through building sustainable multi-channel marketing programs. He's a digital strategist, so he will help you to improve your messaging, your return on investment, analytics, technology, and the overall user experience so that you get traction from your email and digital marketing programs. Prior to founding Bowl Media, Chris worked on both the agency and client side, so he brings a variety of perspectives to his work. He worked for DoubleClick, Medscape, WebMD, Shutterstock, BMG Direct, Zeta Interactive, and Axiom Digital Impact. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, and thanks for the great intro. I'm glad I didn't have to say all that. I appreciate it. It's nice to hear someone else say it for me. It's amazing.
I do sometimes have guests who I have worked with, and you're one of them. And I could say as a client, it's just such a pleasure, because when you have a trusted relationship with a vendor like we had when we did work together, it's really like magic. And you know that they have your best interests at heart, that they'll be honest with you and give you real input to help you, upgrade your programs. And seriously, I don't want to embarrass you, but that is the best. That's the best kind of creative partner to have.
I agree.
So,
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about how companies can create a value exchange in their email marketing. I mean, in my world, as you know, I create LinkedIn content for executive leaders to boost their profile on LinkedIn. And so I'm always thinking about that content and how will it get traction? Will it really resonate with stakeholders? Will it get them to engage and respond? And so people are just inundated with emails. I've got like thousands of them in my inbox. I don't know what to do with them, but how do you turn the tables and create an email marketing campaign that really provides value to the customer?
Yeah, thanks, Julie, and I appreciate you having me on. And I totally. It's a great topic, great question, because and you said it, at the end of the day, email marketing, to me, all of it hinges on how strong is the value exchange. A lot of companies start an email program and think, oh, we're just going to tell them all the things we do and keep reminding them that we're here. And yes, that's nice, but no one wants to open that every day or every week or even every month, for that matter. I mean, so the whole point of email on your marketing side is to remind people that you exist, but you have to give them some value in exchange for that time that you're asking of them.
Right. I mean, the emails that I get that actually have tips I could use right away are the ones I save, and I actually share them with other people, because they have they're so juicy. They have that nugget that's going to like change something about what I do.
That's exactly it. And so there are all kinds of forms of that. So the first step, even, in your world, is thinking about, well, a lot of companies think, how can we even ask for the email? And that's really the first thing to do. So it's all, I think of it as a continuum in terms of the different stages. I mean, people talk about the life cycle, but basically, when you're introducing yourself or your company to someone, you have to think of it just like any other relationship. I mean, there's it's metaphor has been used a million times, but the point is, if you're saying, hi, check this company out, really you should be saying also, by the way, here's why you're going to get such great value. You need to prove your worth and value very quickly. So, you can't just say, hey, come on in, we'll give you a free demo today. You're like, wait, I just met you. I don't know if I want a demo. Some companies are so confused. Why don't people want free demos? I'm saying, because they have a busy day. Why do they want to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes with you and they don't even know what you do yet? So I know you want to tell them and you're excited. That's great, but they need, it's a process, and each step you have to think about what the friction level is on their side, and reduce that friction level so that they just feel like it's seamless to get to know you and what you do. So the first step is, if you're going to start getting email, it's to think about when you're asking for it, why would people want to give you their email?
Right. I mean,
And
absolutely. I mean, as I said, and we all get so many
mhm,
emails from companies who want to do business with us. But when they come across as overly self-promotional, it's just like, in the LinkedIn content I write. If it's going to be only about the person, it's
mhm.
just not interesting. You've got to be providing something a lot more, something tangible.
Exactly. And there's so many ways to do that now. And I know, this isn't, a lot of people are doing it very well. I would say, I'm sure you've seen it throughout browsing the internet. It's not uncommon these days because it works. And those types of tools. So the first thing, thinking about how you're going to get an email, a lot of people have come up, the new buzzword for that, but the idea has been around a while, is lead magnet. So it basically means, instead of just saying, give us your email and we'll tell you all about us, it's really, no, give us your email to immediately get something of value. It could be an ebook, it could be a white paper, it could be some training videos, it could be,
Like a tip sheet.
yeah, it could be a tool that you've built, like a calculator or some kind of special, information that you have. Another great one is, if you already have a number of people who are interested and engaged with you, you can survey them and then publish the results, and that can be a lead magnet too. So people in the industry, they want to hear about themselves and what other people are doing in their industry. So if you have a broad focus in, let's say, one specific industry, you could, ask the people in that profession, what are their concerns, what are they interested in, and once you publish that, certainly new people would be interested in reading it.
That's a
So that
great one.
it really is, it's an easy one, because you're letting the audience you want to reach tell them, create the content. Essentially, you just have to come up with the questions, and obviously you want to think about how it relates back to your own business, but that shouldn't be too difficult to do at the end of the day.
Right. And then you could provide solutions to their problems.
Exactly. Yeah, in fact, we're also testing a tool now. I mean, this is further down in the cycle. So once you get their email, you want to continue to keep adding value. And that could be, again, through tips every time you email. People do create blogs. Again, it has to think about, why would someone want to read this article? What are they going to get out of it? But training videos are great. But we also been testing out a scorecard tool, which is kind of an interesting approach.
What's that?
Yeah, so this is, I'm happy to share the company that built it, but we're seeing how effective it can be, where you basically build out, similar to the survey, you build out a survey about how they're doing, give them, and you're basically thinking, how can you give them a score that will be of value to them, so they can identify the strengths and weaknesses in their marketing program or their business program, or whatever the type of person you're reaching might be, concerned about or trying to accomplish. And then you basically provide a score to them, and it's all built out, like it says, oh, your score in operations is excellent, but your score in HR isn't so great, or whatever their interests are. And you can get as detailed as you'd like in that. And then you can also give them tips on how to help improve. And also, now where their focus is, so you can follow up with more relevant content, or reach out to them and be very pointed in where you see opportunity for them.
I mean, talk about customization.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Wow.
that's a good point you bring up. I mean, with email, you can get very custom. Now, of course, the more custom you get, the more you have to think, do I have enough time and effort and resources to create the content for all of that? But if you do have the type of audience that might have different interests and concerns and pain points and things of that type, you should think about the broader buckets and start to think how you can tailor the content to them.
Right.
But that might be step 2 or 3 for some companies that are, smaller and starting out.
So how do you, what are some of the techniques for actually redesigning your emails to create more value? And how do you nurture those sales leads that you get?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, well, first, we really want to map out at least the first 5 or 6 emails that anyone gets, and they should be very thoughtful and thought out about what can you tell them that'll immediately, again, keeping the value exchange high, like give them something of value back for signing up and giving you the email. So immediately it start going, this email program is great. I just learned all these great new things, or I got these new resources, or I'm feeling, I mean, entertainment's not a bad thing either. Think about that. Like, people love to be entertained. So even if they're not ready to buy from you, and you have a really, if you think you've got a fun or funny angle on things, that could be another way to approach it. But again, it has to be something people anticipate, and that's what you always want to be thinking towards. So map out those first few emails, measure them, and make sure they're working well, and then you can add them to your regular, let's say, in a monthly campaign or something of that type. The other thing to look at too is you're not going to be able to, as much as you might hope, you're not going to please everybody. Not everybody's going to be interested. Some people are curious, they'll sign up, and for whatever reason, it's hard for you to know. They might not work out. So you want to be really looking at especially early on, and you can build rules about this too. You don't have to manually check it, but check how people are responding to your emails, at least for the first 5 or 6. And the people who are responding regularly, great, keep emailing them. Maybe build out an extra email to some special resource that they get. But the people who are never responding, or responding a very low amount, take them off your list.
Right, so that's kind of telling you something too.
Exactly. And it's also hurting your deliverability, meaning if you're sending a lot of emails to, like, Gmail, for example, they look at the open and click-through rates. So you better make sure you're getting a good healthy open and click-through rate, or else they're going to start bulking or dropping, not even delivering your email. So that would be bad. So
what should you be looking for in terms of the metrics, Chris? Like, if you're a company that has not really been actively engaged in an email marketing campaign, what kind of initial open rate and click-through rate should you be expecting?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, there's certainly a lot of benchmark metrics out there. I think MailChimp publishes one you can look up for your industry. There's a few others if you just look for email marketing benchmarks and look at the stats. But usually they hover around open rates 20 to 30% and click-through rates 2 to 5%. Again, that really depends on the industry and the type of message. But you should be what's happened recently, by the way, is that open rates are being skewed by changes in the way that the technology works, because a lot of services, like people use iPhones, the iOS platform is now making it look like all the emails are opened, essentially. So it's skewing the open rate. So you really have to look more and more at click-through rate, make sure there is something that's interesting to click on your emails too, to make sure you're getting an accurate read on if people are actually engaging, opening and clicking your emails.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are some of the common mistakes that people make in designing their email campaigns that you see?
Well, there's just the structure of them. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Like putting a generic subject line in place, like January 2020, well, February now, but February 2023 newsletter, that's the subject line.
Like who's going to care about that?
Yeah, no, you have to lead with the value from the very first sentence, which is your subject line. And then because no one's going to open it if they don't know what's in it for them. So start with that, and then think about each step. I mean, you really have to pull them all the way through. There's nothing wrong with necessarily, I think long emails sometimes work well because, people are hesitant to click to something until they feel a little more confident. So it's okay to give them a little more education, a little more insights.
That's so interesting, because a lot of people say to me, shorter is better. Shorter is better. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of not always true.
Yeah, short. Well, exactly. It's a balance. I mean, you want to give them, if you're going to write a long email, I'm not saying write long paragraphs with no clicks or nothing, but you want to break up your copy, make sure it's written like you would a website, like short, punchy sentences, lots of headlines, lots of links to click to, a lot of bulleted content if you can. I mean, short, simple sentences, just so people can easily scan it, because people, again, are limited in time. You have a few seconds to grab their attention when they open that
Wow.
email, right? So you think about, if you're going to, you should look at your email and give it like 15 to 30 second view, maybe less, really 15, maybe 10 seconds. That's already a long time, I think, for people to look at an email. So
Yeah. Wow. I
consider
was
that.
just going to ask you, how do you, we often all get tunnel vision, right? I know when I was working in the corporate world, and when we worked together, we would come up with email campaigns, and you're so close to the content, as a creator. How do you figure out if you think it's going to have traction or not? Because you've written it, you've edited it, like you're so close to it. How do you know? What do you look for?
That's a good point, and I wish there was a silver bullet for that one. There's no perfect answer. The best thing that we would say, and again, this is every email marketer's tip of their tongue, but is test everything. Obviously not everything, I should say. Like, don't test the color of the button at the bottom of the email, but test the subject lines, test the format where you put content. Just constantly, and also just constantly think about how people would go through your email. Like, what is it pulling you through, really? Or could you move some or shorten some long intro paragraph that really doesn't do much for the reader and move it to the bottom, or put the meat of the email at the top, like the key articles or whatever the value is, as close to as you can to the top so they can find it. Things like that.
So when you say to test it, you mean doing a few different versions of it, like doing an A/B test?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly. A/B tests are the best to start with. You can get more fancy with multivariate as your list gets bigger and you start to get more experience. But start with some simple A/B. Start with the subject line A/B. That's the most valuable and the easiest to do. It really will have the biggest impact.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that the most successful campaigns you've worked on have in common?
That's a good question.
Because you've worked across industry
Mhm.
sectors, in healthcare and higher education, I know, are some of the sectors you've worked in, nonprofits. What are some of the things of the best campaigns that you see?
I mean, I think I hate to come back to the theme of the day, but
Yeah.
it really is
Yeah.
value exchange. I mean, it's really, are they thinking through about their audience, thinking about how to provide value, whether they're just having a regular, tip of the month or a video training that comes, or just, as I said, sometimes they're just entertaining. They keep that consistency and look at how they can continually improve, and aren't just falling into a pattern. They're testing, and they're always looking at the metrics regularly. So it takes a a steady but also regular focus on it. It's
Right.
never quite done and set it and forget it kind of thing.
Right. Would you say that successful emails have one theme? Like, is there, I don't know, I tend to like sometimes stuff too much information into one message. Is simplicity important?
Well, yeah, simplicity in design and structure is important,
Yeah.
but
So you mean like the visual look of the email?
yeah, and how everything's
Yeah.
organized, how easy is it to scan and find what you're looking for. And most emails are pretty simple these days in terms of not having a lot of columns and sections, but just also think about how where you're putting is it
Yeah.
easy to scan. But yeah, I mean, in terms of is it best to just stick to one topic and stay there, or one format? I mean, I think you can always try new things. So I wouldn't say you have to stick to things, as long as you're considering what your audience is there for and what their interests are. Yeah, if you want to switch from writing a blog once a month to asking a survey one time, or
Yeah, you can change it up.
yeah, exactly, and just
And
keep an
what
eye on how the
about
results are.
what about the multimedia aspect of it? Are you using different kinds of I don't know, gifts or video in email campaigns? Are those effective?
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things about email is that there are, unlike websites where, I mean, yes, they all respond slightly differently on every browser. When you're designing, you have to check that. With email, you're checking even more different types of systems, and the technology is not as advanced, mostly because a lot of the email system providers have just been concerned about bad actors, and so they don't put a lot of more like the type of code that could have easily be involved in an email if they let it. Like, you could play a video, or
Yeah.
even go through an e-commerce transaction, but those are all pretty much not allowed on a lot of email systems. So the technology
Interesting.
is very simple. You pretty much have to link out to do
Got it.
anything more
Okay.
advanced. But you did hit on one thing which I think is undervalued. Animated GIFs are a great way to add some motion to your email in a fun and simple way, and you can do a lot if you're creative with it. Um, yeah, so I would consider how you could do that. In fact, there's a great resource if you've never checked it out. I'm hoping I get the name right, but I think it's called, well, let me look it up while I'm talking. Really great, reallygoodemails.com. And
That's what it's called. That's
yeah,
funny.
it's a wonderful website. Someone, I don't know who created it, but thank you for doing that. They basically, you can go and look up different types of emails and see what other people are doing and get some really great ideas for how you want to design your emails. So I would suggest anybody who's thinking about getting some new, fresh ideas for their emails, take a look there as well.
So really great emails.
Yeah, also sign up for any companies. I always do that. Have an inbox that you use for that. I keep a separate inbox for that, and just sign up and see the kind of emails that people are sending that are in your industry or similar to what you do, and see what kind of, what happens when they, in terms of the series and the type of content, and see if there's
Yeah, and
anything
how you can differentiate your brand.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you're
Well,
taking ideas from that or differentiating, and you see they're missing something, then definitely it's a good way to do it.
Chris, this was great. Thank you so much for being on today. Great tips, great information. So, folks, if you have interest in doing an email marketing campaign or digital marketing, reach out to Chris at Bowl Media. Thanks so much. See you next week on Julie's PR Patter.